Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel. Thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the great Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Juan Pablo Montoya limited edition. This limited edition of 1,000 pieces from 2004 can be seen and purchased on our website. And if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also click on the card for this watch and see our full listing for the timepiece with additional accessories included, high-resolution images, and naturally complete pricing details for this timepiece. Now, on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, this watch represents an aesthetic revolution for the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore series. Now, let's do a little bit of a history lesson here. The first watches associated with automakers were probably custom commissions by Enzo Ferrari during the 1950s with many brands. By the 1990s, with the Omega Schumacher series, we'd begun to associate individual watch models with branding agreements that tied into special drivers in the sport, special personalities in motorsports. And of course, with the Girard-Perregaux Ferrari series from 1994 to 2004, we saw co-branding of a brand and a watch that is a car brand and a watch brand in a single product. But it wasn't until the 2004 Juan Pablo Montoya that we saw a total domination of the aesthetic of the watch by motorsport motifs. This is the watch that really brought it all together, and with design input from Audemars Piguet subsidiary Richard Mille at the time, it's no wonder. So let's talk about fit. On my wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference. We're talking about a watch that's actually between 42 and 44. Because of the unconventional shape, this was the first of the Royal Oak Offshores with the bolstered flanks underneath a sort of rectangular crown guard arrangement. The rectangular pushers, the squared off rectangular crown guard form, all of this started with the Juan Pablo Montoya in 2004. It's more massive and it extends the case such that it's not precisely a 42 and it's not precisely the 44 that became a regular feature after 2011. It's in between the two. Now the watch is 15.5 millimeters thick. There are two ways to measure it lug to lug. If you just measure the ends of the lugs, so you just measure the absolute edge of the case, you're going to get something approximating 53 millimeters. Now, if you actually measure the plots that join the strap to the case, they don't fold down completely, so they flare a bit. They create a little bit of virtual diameter. Those extend the flanks of the case to almost 58 millimeters across the wrist, so it wears large, but it is titanium. This is part of the 1,000 unit titanium issue from the 2004 special series, titanium, rose gold, and platinum. This is by far the most wearable from a mass on the wrist perspective. You'll note how the stitching on the strap recalls the look of vintage automobiles, but at the same time, so you'll see this sort of stitch pattern in vintage automobile upholstery, driving gloves, steering wheels. It also pays homage to the modern Nomex driving suit. Now you'll note that not only do we have those Nomex driving suit cues on the strap, but we have plots, the plot joiners, that are actually designed to look like gas pedals within the automotive cockpit. You'll also note the vents inset in the chronograph pushers. You'll note how the crown itself looks like the center nut of Formula One wheel attachment, so the center nut binding the wheel to the car. A single air gun removes it, a single air gun places the new tire on. You'll also note the use of carbon fiber in the bezel, carbon fiber in the hoods of the pusher shoulders. You'll note the use of relieved channels for bolts that are very much of an assembly character. They look like what you'll find underneath the hood on the engine block of a Formula One power plant. And it continues on the dial, where you can see the Colombian flag colors of Juan Pablo Montoya, and the Grand Tapisserie features an inset waving flag motif. Whether it's the Colombian flag or the checkered flag, this much is certain. It's on a watch that spares no detail to emphasize its motorsports associations, and that continues on the caseback. This was the very first of the Royal Oak Offshores to feature a display caseback, and you can see underneath the caliber 2226-2840, a modular chronograph with a Jaeger-LeCoultre 889, and on top, a Dubois de Praz vertical clutch chronograph module. It operates at 4 Hz, it hacks, it has a quick set date, it's protected by 100-meter water resistance, it's 54 joules and bidirectional winding, allowing it to energize a 40-hour power reserve. So you've got a lot of pedigree here. You have Juan Pablo Montoya, Richard Mille, Audemars Piguet, Jaeger-LeCoultre, Dubois de Praz, and yes, a dial by Stern Creations, Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak and Royal Oak Offshore dial supplier of the time. Stern Creations, if that rings a bell, yes, we're talking about those sterns. This watch is something like a high horology tour of Switzerland with a weekend in Colombia thrown in for good measure. A handsome, dynamic, and historically significant Royal Oak Offshore. It was the first of the F1 Driver Series special editions, and in the eyes of many, it remains the absolute best. You can see and you can purchase the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Juan Pablo Montoya limited edition in titanium on our website.